Okay folks, nice to see you again. Today we're at the CIT student library with here my model, wax model Vivian. We just did a nice wax demonstration of legs and bikini. Obviously I was trying to demonstrate also that the bikini wax size has to be kind of halfway between an almond, not an almond, a peach and a peach and an avocado, small avocado, but I've forgotten that part, so I'm going to add that to the blog later. So today we're going to talk about like the different types of hair removal. Here behind me there's a really lovely little fountain here, and I wanted to talk about the different type of hair removal and do a little bit of a mindful meditation walk behind this, around this nice tree. So I do have to head somewhere at around 2:30 and it's now 1:30, so I have an hour. So I'm going to try to make this quick 5 to 10 to 15 minute blog, and then we'll kind of go from there. So we've got 3 main methods of hair removals that we all know and love. And if you read lots of Cosmo and Cleo, I love Cosmo because it means getting around, and it means going around the world and doing bits and bobs of different things, which is great for those who have hyperactivity. Sorry, don't mind my fine lines. I'm going to just lower my hair here so that I don't have fine lines showing. So let's say there are 3 main types of hair removal. What would be your preference? So when I was younger, I started with the shaving method. So I'm going to tell you about the cut method first, and then I went to the pull method. The pull method being waxing and tweezing and epilating. And then number 3, I went to the burning method, which is the laser method, or the cream. There's a cream, well-known cream product called Nair. So they remove by burning the hair follicles and burning the hair follicles within the skin. So one of our tweets and one of our followers came up to me today, so sent me a message today and mentioned her daughter. She said, hey, my daughter, she's now starting to have pubic hair. I've bought these funky cool scissors and I'm starting to trim. What is the best hair removal product for her? Well, first of all, it depends on her skin tone. I have this Asian skin tone because I'm Thai, Southeast Asian, and for Thais or Southeast Asians, we have that mid-tone. There's a Skin Fit Spat Trick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a really fair person with blue eyes normally sits in a 1 and 2. Then us Asians, Arabs, mixed race normally sits between that 3 and 4, and then the really darker skin tones like the Greeks, the darker Arab countries, Africans, they sit in that kind of black to really dark tan brown skin tones. They sit in 4 and 5. So if you're talking about ripping is ripping. Obviously this hair in a darker skin is going to be much tougher than hair on a lighter skin, and less it's more coarse than it is more fine. So the lighter the skin, the lighter the hair tone, the softer the hair follicle, the hair is, and it would be easier to break and rip from the hair follicle. Then if you have really coarse or darker color hairs, it's going to be a bit tougher. So with me, I had that awful experience of shaving underarms, right? And you're holding your arms up and you're shaving your legs, but then you get the stubbles. Now the stubbles come up whether you have blonde hair, red hair, brown hair, but obviously if you have lighter hair, it's going to come up a little bit more finer and much more coarse if you have the darker hairs, black or browns. So I scratched that method real quick. In my teenage years, I sat there cutting, I was tweezing, I was trimming my bikini line, I was trimming my intimate hairs, and I definitely did not use scissors in my armpits, but I obviously tried the creams, the burning necks, the non-advanced burning necks. I tried the creams and the hair started to fall out from its follicle. The good news is, let's say this is a hair follicle, it's sitting into your skin, right? Let's say this is my skin, it's sitting in the skin. What the burning effect does with the chemical creams is the chemical burn. So it burns the hair follicles and it damages a little bit of the hair follicles at the bottom, and the hair just falls out. You'll see the bulb's gone. The bulb, which is the yellow part of the hair, is gone, and so has the hair. The hair's kind of shriveled up and died. Does the hair grow back? Of course it does. It's chemical burn, but it's a bit traumatized, the hair follicle, so the likelihood is it will grow back softer and not as hard as if you chop the top of the hair off. So if it's a hair, it's been chopped off at the skin surface level, but the bulb is still there, it's going to regrow, but it's going to regrow hard because it's been chopped. So it's got this sharp edge pointing up, and that's why you feel the hard, coarse stubbles, like shaving. Now, after the burning chemicals had been applied, I noticed that there was some sensitivity in the skin because the skin was stimulated, and obviously it was a chemical burn, and it stank. Like, obviously it stank for a reason, so you don't eat the chemical burning hair removing cream. Number two, you don't want to leave it too long because obviously you're burning skin as well as hair and hair follicles. So I moved on to the next method, the pulling method. Now, pulling was a bit tough because I did pulling and waxing first time. I was in London, I remembered, and my dad had sent me this ceramic epilator, and I was like, oh, it hasn't arrived yet, let me try this waxing stuff. So I bought my own wax strips. It was pre-wax on the strip, and the only difference is when there's someone doing it for you, there's two hands plus your hand maybe holding your boob here and holding your leg there, so there's 2 to 3 hands working on you. But if it's just you only have one hand. You have one hand technically and the other hand's up, so it's immobilized. Or if you're doing your leg, you have 2 hands, but you're in a really, really awkward angle, right? Because you're trying to do your bikini wax, but you're holding your leg out and tightening your vaginal or intimate areas, and then you're pulling the hair up or out. So it was tricky. It wasn't, and it was painful, and I was not successful, and I left patches. And I didn't use powder, and I didn't sterilize, and I didn't use sanitizer, and I didn't wear gloves. Like, it was all a bit of a mess. But then you live and you learn, you go, okay, let's take a professional to do it, because obviously it's worth the $80 to get them to do my bikini wax and my leg wax and my arm wax and my chin wax. Sometimes I had some ingrown hair on my chin. So, and sometimes I get them to tidy my brows as well, because it was nice and bushy at the top. And obviously like a bit of a tidy up here on the side. So they do all that with hot wax, apart from strip wax, which they use on almost, you can use it on even your face, any part of your body. But the benefit of hot wax is that it opens the hair follicles. So once you're pulling, which essentially is ripping, you're removing the first layer of the skin, but the hair follicle is opening up. So it soothes and feels a little bit nicer because the wax kind of massages the skin a little bit and it soothes it, and when it pulls, the hair follicle is not in such a shock. Now, people ask me a really good question: why wax and epilate if you can laser? Well, and why is there less bleeding? When you wax, yes, there's bleeding because there's a bit of trauma to the skin, it's being stimulated. But why is it that when you laser, you don't see blood? Guys, the reason you don't see blood is, first of all, if you know anything about laser, it is burning through laser. So it is burning and traveling and sending that laser heat, infrared light, heat through the skin, the hair follicle. So they're going to ask you to shave first always. A fresh shave just means that it's not going to burn the whole hair follicle, but it's just going to burn the part that's beneath the skin surface. So once it's burning, guess what also burns? Blood vessels. So it burns and the hair kind of falls off and dies. Sometimes I worry that the hair has fallen off and it's dead in the skin, but apparently they guarantee me that that's not what's happening. So they being the lasiologists, the beauty therapists. And when after you laser, other than trauma of exposing your skin to UV light and infrared light and, you know, whatever it is that's going to give you more cancer, what other benefits is there that stops the bleeding? Well, you're burning, so the blood's going to clot. When you clot blood with heat, it's not going to bleed no more. So that's the reason why there's no bleeding. And maybe there's a little bit more of an infection because the blood hasn't had the opportunity to excrete itself properly from your body, or perhaps, wicked science, it might actually have burnt and have left the skin a little bit of a scab, so it dries. So little burnt red blood marks instead of spotting. Then my favorite part is when they talk about laser, they ask, what is the benefits with the skin types? Well, there's some benefits to the skin types, because if you're very, very fair, the likelihood is, if you're too fair, the laser light is actually going to reflect off your skin. And if you are too dark, it's going to absorb the laser rays and the infrared light rays, and it's actually going to burn your skin as well as the hair between that skin. So it's not ideal for someone who's super dark in the 4s and 5s, and not someone who is super light in the 1s and 2s. But if you're in the mid-range, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, tends to be okay. My favorite's epilating. Why is it epilating? Because technically, guys, epilating is 2 ceramic or metal plates that it's wheeling and spinning around, a little bit like lawn mowing. So if it's spinning and it's pulling, as long as you pull the skin tight enough and you're not silly enough to do it and have, you know, your armpits folded or your knees folded, and then you get that flabby bit where it's the skin's grabbing, then it tends to be okay. It tends to not hurt so much, and it's basically tweezing. It is multiple tweezers working at the same time. I prefer the ceramic plates because obviously the ceramic plates is ceramic, so like it's like 2 ceramic plates moving and pulling and ripping at the same time. The likelihood is, if you do it well and you get the hair at a good growth cycles, and don't forget, after a good wax or a good pulling method, you want to be doing it every 4 to 6 weeks or 7 to 8 weeks if you've got long cycles of hair growth. If you catch it at the mid-cycle, because there's I call it ACT, anagen, collagen, telogen type hair. So if you get it at the end of the cycle, you're going to get where the root is really nice and heavy, ready to go, and you pull, you're going to have a little bit of spotting, but the good news is it's going to last a long time. It's going to last you a good 6 to 8 weeks before you have to pull that and move that hair again, you know, like lawn mowing again. And I like the ceramic plates, obviously, because I feel it's a bit more hygienic. There's less cuts. Ceramic is less sharp and blunt, and obviously it doesn't feel like big realms of metal blades are going and lawn mowing, you know, past your hair and your skin. So that's my favorite. I think it's multiple tweezing happening at the same time. As long as you don't rip and break the hair follicle so it snaps, then it's a really, really great method. So as a sum up, did I like laser? It was great. It also was a good package with the fat freeze, but I was afraid that there was dead hair follicles stuck in my skin because I didn't see any hair follicles coming out. Apparently it falls out in your sleep or something. And I love epilating. I wish I could do it some more, but those machines are super expensive. And then when I got to London, I had to find an adapter, and then, you know, if it breaks and it chokes, it's really hard to get parts. So I worked for Philips for a few years, where I was doing hair removal for Philips with the laser guns, and you know, that's home laser package. They were like $1,000 each, and I really did not take to shaving because of the stubbles. So my favorite was actually the pulling method. So it is the pulling method, the cutting method, the shaving method obviously, and then my lucky last favorite, the burning method. And if you do like burns and you don't care how much chemical burns or how much infrared or UV light you're actually exposing to your skin, then maybe that that burning hair removing method might be for you. But for me, it's actually not the case. Today is now time. It is now time today for me to leave for my appointment. So me and Vivian, the wax model, is actually going to head off for our appointment, and we want to say thank you so much for following ZenSpa. If I got some of the science wrong, I'm so sorry. It is edutainment, not just entertainment. But thank you, and have a great break and holidays, guys. That's all, folks.